Go.
While you crushed your cranberries to see them eaten before you and enjoyed the lamentations of turkeys, we were left with a veritable cornucopia of kerfuffles, and that is why we are here. Welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze and solve PR kerfuffles from the world of MMA and beyond.
Man, that was a great intro. That's why this guy's getting paid the big bucks. That was fucking great.
Yeah.
And I just stepped all over it.
Hey, man, the fact that you laughed and enjoyed meant that, I'd rather hear that than crickets.
It's enough.
Which is a sound effect one can use. Joining us as always is Kid Nate of Bloody Elbow and Eugene S. Robinson of Aussie.com and author of Fight Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About. Ass kicker, ass kicker, ass kicker. The streak had to end. And I am Alexi Auld, your host. So, Eugene, other than stepping over intros, why should people listen to the words coming out of your mouth?
I've been a journalist since 1977, getting paid for it since 1981. I've worked at Apple, Adobe, Intel, Nikon, Ziff Davis. I've run my own company and consulted my way out of PR disasters, big and small. So that's why you should listen to me. Plus, I'm damn sexy.
Sexy and sophisticated like Herb Dean?
What are you shaking your head, man? Me and Herb Dean, we are sexy and sophisticated.
I wasn't disputing your sexiness. I'm just trying to. I'm going. How am I going to follow that? That's
okay. All right.
Well, follow you must. Nate.
Well, my wife thinks I'm damn sexy, so that's good. And I've got 15 years of political and public affairs experience at the highest levels, including presidential campaigns, including work for Senator John Kerry, Senator Mark Warner, taking down Tom DeLay, author of a book, Netroots Rising, worked Fortune 500 companies, yada, 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 crisis communications. I'm a pro, a stone pro. I've been through it. I've seen it. I've done it. I've heard it. Yeah.
All right.
And did I mention my wife thinks
I'm thinking, how desperate would I have to be before I would call any of us in a PR disaster?
Hey. You'd have to be desperate because you need the experience. You need the perspective that is not necessarily conventional. You need a conventional with the unconventional, right?
Okay.
That's where I have fit in. I'm an attorney and also consultant and have handled PR crises from a business and legal perspectives for the past 15 to 18 years on the Hill, private sector, with individuals, with all different types of folks, and speaking about different types of folks.
You actually passed the bar in New York State, right?
Yes, I did.
Incredibly tough. What did you pass on the first time or the 8th time?
Oh, I passed before I even took it. So anyway,
you didn't answer that question. I like that.
So I actually wrote a book that's based on bar issues called Chumped, The Jerked Law Clerk. Check it out on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Anyway, that's plugging for me. You're Dana White, Eugene. George St-Pierre retired a champ after headlining some of the most successful pay-per-views in UFC history. He's flirting with a comeback. A few days ago, he blamed your failure to act with, quote, a bit of better class, end quote, after his UFC 167 win for his not returning earlier. See, so you weren't classy enough, that's why he didn't come back earlier. Do you try to pull a My Fair Dana to publicly make amends, or do you double down and build GSP's return with the old fighter versus promoter feud angle?
You know what? I mean, George St-Pierre complaining about the bald one in a public forum was news on a slow news day, or also known as no news at all. I mean, what are you gonna say? That Dana White is coarse? Does anybody think that this guy is at home eating caviar and drinking Cristal out of fine crystalware? No, it's not a surprise. He got his fucking feelings hurt. I don't know if you followed my advice that I gave in the last Knuckle Up about the genius of Glassdoor, but you should go to Glassdoor.com and type in Zuffa or UFC. See what employees say. That they peg the number one consistent complaint about working at Zuffa seems to be lack of they don't feel like there's strong executive management at the top, which from the outside perspective is shocking. You would think that the bald one is there controlling and dictating that. No, he is kind of maybe a ceremonial figure, and as such, I don't think he really needs to deal with it all. If he thinks GSP is really coming back, yeah, milk it for what it's worth. Otherwise, it's a non-fucking story, you know? I mean, GSP is flapping his gums for what? For a return? For what? A bow at Bellator? No, it's just, you know, a guy who's retired, who misses the limelight, and somebody shoved a mic in front of his face. It feels weird for me to come down on the side of the bald one, sort of, but you know what? It's like Mr. Marcus, the porn star, said when he had a starlet fleeing the porn set, and he says to me, hey, you know what? She knew what the job was when she took it. you know, is anybody surprised at all at anything the bald one does? No, you shouldn't be.
How about you, Nate?
Well, I can't extend a blanket amnesty to Dana White based on the he's such an asshole he gets away with anything premise. I mean, he's not Donald Trump yet. So I think this is a serious issue. I think GSP wants to come back. I think he is serious about coming back, and I think there's money to be made with the GSP comeback. I mean, they lost Ronda. They might get a big rematch with Holly Holm, but there's no guarantee Holly Holm on her own is a big draw. Conor McGregor might lose. Jon Jones might not re-engage the imagination of fans, or he might not be the fighter.
Oh, you're wrong about that.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying they don't have just a shelf just stocked with superstars. And GSP is somebody who can headline some pay-per-views. If they book something like GSP versus Anderson Silva, that could do big business. There's money to be made here. They need to handle it right. And Dana did shit the bed. Even for Dana, his behavior after UFC 167 was remarkably bad. Like when they tried to keep GSP out of the press conference. Yeah. And there's more to it than just he was hurting GSP's feelings. The real issue was GSP was pushing for enhanced testing for steroids, and they were fighting it. And you've seen...
Because he almost got murdered by Johnny Hendricks, who's never been quite the same since the enhanced testing.
It's true, and that is extremely notable.
And yes,
hey man, didn't he want VADA instead of WADA?
Can you see my eyebrows go?
You don't have the kind of eyebrow control I do, Eugene.
No, I need to practice.
Yeah, you got to work on.
So speaking of control, Eugene, you're Zuffa, owner of the UFC.
Jon Jones. I quit. I'm taking my $1 billion and I'm moving to Monaco. See you later, suckers.
And you're hiring a new general counsel, right?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Jon Jones put you on blast during his exclusive interview with Ariel Helwani, going so far as claiming that, quote, something must be done about your power. Do you try to extend an olive branch in peace, or do you smack the taste out of his mouth with it?
No. At this point now, given what's happening with the legal cases and I mean, you know what? I hate to say it, but the hardest thing for the bald one is going to have to be just to hold it down, and this too shall pass. You know, I mean, smacking Jon Jones down when he's got such a dearth of front benchers. Why would you do that? You know. I mean, what they did was actually, strangely enough, pretty perfect. A generic press release that completely counters what he says. It's 100% untrue or 100% inaccurate, and it's done. What is he going to have another interview with Ariel Helwani where he goes, you know what, it was 100% accurate. Okay, you know, like Tony Montana says, we could keep this up all day. You know, I mean, come on. So I mean, these are deck chairs. They're reshuffling the chairs, and people are waiting for 2016 and something to happen. And guys are going to do what they're going to do, man. I've been at AKA and seen people, Josh Koscheck, right before he wished the place would burn down, just flip out because Dave Camarillo was late. I mean, you know, these are high-stakes games, and these guys are serious about it, and they are not to be controlled. That's one of the benefits of the position. So,
what do you think, Nate?
Well, I mean, to clarify, what the UFC denied was Jones's claim that they only cut him and suspended him and cut it and stripped him of the title because he wasn't ready to fight Rumble right away. Like his perception was, if I had been willing to step up and take the next fight, they would have been willing to keep me as champion, even though I had a felony charges against me. So they want to keep them.
And he might be right, but so
it seems exceedingly likely. However, in their position, they can deny it. I mean, it's a he said deal. So I think the denial was smart. deny, hey, that's not what happened, and move on. I mean,
but then you also have the Vitor thing, though, don't you? I mean, that was a part of it as well. I mean, it's
well,
the
the
whole
Vitor thing's a little bit different, and so far they just have not addressed the Vitor thing. Like they basically said, well, the tests are what the tests were, and the commission said it was okay, and basically they're playing a game where they're not admitting that they were the de facto commission because the Ontario Commission doesn't test for steroids, so they had to handle that on their own. He's got him on the Vitor thing, and that's the thing. That's the thing I think that makes the GSP and Jones fights more significant. Is both of them have the UFC over a bit of a barrel in terms of we were the good guys on drug testing. We were clean, and we wanted other guys to be tested. You guys were covering up for Vitor when he was failing tests, and you guys were refusing to do enhanced testing when GSP was willing to pay for it. So. That's the more serious PR angle is like, is the UFC pro steroids? Now that's why they've hired VADA and WADA or whatever and done all this stuff and imposed this new draconian policy. So I think they've taken the steps they need to correct that, but it's still out there, and it's something that Jones and GSP can continue to harp on if they.
Also, this is an issue of accretion. It's like
why is that?
The death of 1,000 cuts. It's not so much that any one of these individual allegations ends up being a nail for a coffin, but it's starting to collect. Like first you have Stalingrad, and then you have reversals with the Italians, and next thing you know, you're a Nazi fleeing back to Berlin. Yes,
11 minutes in, and we have Nazis.
There we go.
Yeah,
but do you think, though, that there's the dynamic has changed because Sheldon Silver has just been convicted, right? And he was this big opponent to MMA getting legalized in New York. So as you have a situation where the UFC is trying to get legit in New York State, does that change the dynamic in terms of dealing with these situations with the GSP and the Jon Jones? And not necessarily, I mean, one part is dealing with those individual personalities, but the issues they represent. Does that change the dynamic at all for you, Eugene? Because initially you said, it's, at least for GSP, no biggie and butt hurtness.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been paying attention to Johnny Boney Joni, what he's been talking about in this back and forth with him in D.C. and the Madison Square Garden thing. I mean, look, one of the most harrowing evenings I spent was a night in Chicago with Richard Daley in attendance. It was a small dinner that when I was editor-in-chief of Code magazine, and I met this guy, and it was like the movie Brainstorm. This is Richard Daley Jr., I guess. And I could just see it was eerie. I've had one other sensation like that where the guy was just looking right through me, where I was like tissue paper, and it was with a cab driver in Brussels who just heard my American accent, and at that point was, I'm fully convinced this guy is chopping heads somewhere in Syria now, shit. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep talking.
So what do you think? What do you think, Nate? Do you?
This is the first time I've ever seen Eugene lose his train completely, and it was at the thought of his own beautiful head being removed from his shoulders. Now we know what his weakness is. Decapitation is the kryptonite. But it is for many of us. The thing is, they want to get into Madison Square Garden in April. They booked it, and they want it to be Jon Jones and Daniel Cormier. Now it looks like Jones is down. Cormier, though, was wrangling around saying, I'm the champion, I'm going to pick and choose when we're going to fight. He's a champion with no leverage. That's the thing. Nobody's paying big bucks to see Cormier fight. He's a champion, yeah. I mean, he's a great athlete, great fighter, but in terms of a popular draw, he only did like 250,000. I mean, he's in Mighty Mouse country, a little better than Mighty Mouse.
Then why not stretch it out then? Why not have a situation where, if he knows that he needs Jones and
I think it's
the inevitability of the loss, probably.
It makes sense for Cormier to try to drag it out, play as hard to get as possible. It's just that he doesn't have much leverage at all because Jon Jones fighting it's a $1 million pay-per-view. Yep. Without Jon Jones, it's a $250,000 pay-per-view, and that's big money, and everybody knows it. But the thing is,
and who would I mean, not appearing at Madison Square Garden? Are you kidding me? Who was that? No. I want to appear at the Shark Tank in San Jose Because I want my fan. Forget about New York. Hey, baby, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. You got to go to New York, no matter what.
Yeah, so, says the man from Brooklyn. But
here's the thing, though. When you're talking, but when you're talking about leverage and negotiation, it leads us to our next point.
Well, one thing before they got to get regulated in New York, and the steroid stuff hurts them badly. Even Sheldon Silver going to prison does not automatically pass.
But the steroid stuff, I'm going to say the steroid stuff is old news. You know.
Well, hopefully that's where the GSP and Jon Jones feuds. They need to tamp that down, and they need to make it not about steroids. They need to be making it about Jones's next fight and about GSP's next fight. Not in
I think they have. I think they're taking steps. I mean, it's you want to talk about a sport that is still brushed up, tarred up with. Let's talk about the fucking Tour de France. Now they haven't bounced back, But I think the UFC has done as much as could be expected. There are losers in this, but the UFC is they're tagged up, but they're not damaged. Some of the losers are the guys who are just not fighting with the same kind of brio that they once did, having trouble making weight cuts where they didn't so much before.
Well, one guy who is looking to be a winner, Eugene. Former UFC lightweight champion Benson Henderson.
Yeah.
That's who you are. After your recent victory against George Masvidal, you said you wanted to retire from the UFC. You just didn't say when. Yeah. How do you capitalize on your free agency without burning bridges?
You know what? I mean, okay, let's look at life as Ben Henderson. If Ben Henderson doesn't utter another peep, not another word, no press conference, no tweets, no Twitters, nothing. At what point do you think Sean Shelby or Joe Silva is going to ring him up and say, hey, buddy, we got a fight for you? If he says nothing, when do you think he's going to get off that bench and get back in the frickin' cage? I would venture a guess that 2016 could be well into the fall before his phone rings. It's like what he needs to do. It's like the friendly breakup where you go. I had one with this woman, and she's like, you know what? Why don't we just be good friends who have sex every now and then? I was like, that's pretty damn reasonable. I'll take it. There's no need for this drama. There's
no negotiation.
No, there was no need for any of that stuff. So boom. So I mean, there's.
So she said, have your cake and eat it too, and you said, deal.
Deal.
Well, who can argue with that?
Who can argue with that? I mean, is there need for what? Why is there need for agita? Why? I mean, where is Ben Henderson going?
He could go to Bellator. He could go to ONE FC.
No.
On New Year's Eve against Fedor. Bulk up.
I mean,
I would love to see that fight. I would love to see the return of that kind of freak show fight.
Well,
the spirit of BJ Penn versus Lyoto Machida, have that kind of Bendo versus Fedor.
I'm also looking at the quality of the fight. I mean, you brought it up, so now it has to be dealt with. But this fight with George Masvidal, he barely eked that out. In fact,
that's all he ever does. That's how he won the title.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like this guy's his strand is played, man. I mean, it's what? I mean, don't act like we don't know. You could be a supporter of the guy, but there's no headroom left on the Ben Henderson train. There's nothing.
I think Bellator could use him. Bellator has a strong leg.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm talking. I'm just talking about in the UFC.
Oh yeah.
So
what would you think? What do you think, Nate?
I think he weigh his offers. I don't think I think Eugene's right. He doesn't need to do a bunch of shit talking in public, but let's see what Bellator has to say. Let's see what Scott Coker has to say. If I were him, I would weigh any offers from ONE FC, like in terms of how much cash they give you up front in actual American dollars that you can spend. I wouldn't take any guarantees they issue at face value. And I'd stay far away from World Series of Fightings, which might very well be the subject of our next episode if anybody cares, because those guys are having some PR disasters going down.
Hold on. Wait. Ben Askren and Ben Henderson, are they remotely close to being in the
they can fight. Yep. Henderson just fought
in ONE FC.
In ONE FC. They could do that in ONE FC. It's just that everybody is complaining about ONE FC not paying their money or not living up to their contracts. So,
Well, speaking about complaining, I don't want to have to whip out another sound effect because there's some folks that don't like any of them. So, Eugene, you're Gollum. A doctor.
Is this the curveball? Is this the curveball? You didn't say curveball.
I didn't have to. The music says curveball.
You gotta say curveball if you're gonna be
curveball.
Time.
All right, I didn't even hear the music.
He was ducking the curveball. He had
Eugene
the Wonder
was
Woman braces on. So look, Eugene, you're Gollum. A doctor is facing 2 years in a Turkish prison for likening Turkish President Erdogan to you. The court is adjourned for 2 months while experts analyze you. You being Gollum. Yep. Do you remain in hiding? Or do you strike a deal with Putin and do wet work with the one ring that controls all?
That's a great question. You know what? I read that story this morning as I was getting ready to come to jiu-jitsu. And when I found out it was in Turkey, I immediately stopped reading. It's like, what, are you fucking kidding? I guess it's like that great line from that 50 Cent movie, Get Rich or Die Trying, when the guy bumps into him at a party. He's like, yo, yo, yo. And 50 Cent says to him, I guess you forgot where you are. Where the fuck do you think you are, man? You're in Turkey, Jay. You want to make fun of of Erdogan, you got to leave and then make fun of Erdogan. You're not going to do it. I don't give a shit, it's Democratic and free elected. Come on, man. They got touchy guys there. You don't fuck around. A friend of mine was in Nigeria, and he got into a fender bender. Some guy crashed into his driver, and he's like, look, you got to be, and they get into a big argument. So he reaches it. The guy's pushing his driver around. He gets out of the car, and there's a shoving match. And he goes, look, I'm to guarantee that you pay. He reaches into the guy's car and takes out a radio, a freaking radio, and gets in his car and says, this is where I am. Come and find me when you could pay for this damage, right? So the guy he owns a factory. He gets to the factory, and and the police show up. And he starts doing this very American thing of, well, this guy and the fucking Nigerian cops just fuck him up. He said he was screaming like a girl, So he, he learned a quick lesson at that point.
Speaking about fucking up and touching and everything, it brings us to our teachable moment. Nate, you're the porn industry. Porn star James Dean enjoyed mainstream appeal as your feminist sweetheart until last weekend.
Hold on. You didn't give Kid Nate a chance to talk about the Gollum thing, though.
It's true, but what do I have to say about the Gollum thing? I mean, you said it all. Gollum, yeah. I can't. There's nothing to add there.
All right.
You're just trying to take away his shine from talking about porn, man.
I've been wanting to talk about James Dean since this.
He's been salivating about James Dean. Like,
Facebook posted about this.
So look, you're the porn industry, Nate. Porn star James Dean enjoyed mainstream appeal as your feminist sweetheart until last weekend when he was publicly accused by an ex-girlfriend of raping her, a claim that was soon followed by similar accusations from 2 other adult film stars. How do you prevent disgusted Dean from spilling over the whole industry? And with hindsight, given Dean's proclivity for publicly tweeting rape jokes and rampant rumors about his behavior, should the industry have marketed him so heavily in the first place?
Well, I don't know that they had control over how this individual is marketed. I mean, the porn, it's not, a monopoly. Porn, there's competition in porn, and they don't have the money they used to. So it's kind of a free-for-all. I don't think there's anything they could have done to stop Dean. And chicks dug him. I mean, that was this is the first time in my knowledge that a male straight porn performer has actually had a fan club of women who like to watch him perform. And that was
TT Boy.
Yeah.
He was out there going, yes, God damn it!
No, TT Boy.
There were some.
Tom Byron and TT Boy were liked.
They were liked okay, just because, my husband wants me to watch porn, and these are the guys that are less disgusting than Ron Jeremy. But TT Boy was a vile toad. I mean, the rape accusations against him were constant from the get-go. And I've never heard anything really horrible about Tom Byron, but just Tom Byron sitting on a dirty couch somewhere, it didn't have the same...
It was a different time.
Huh? It was a different time. It was a different time. Dean, on the other hand, was mainstream. I mean, he was in movies with Lindsay Lohan. He got tons of mainstream media, and women love to talk about.
And even he wrote a column. He had a column on a progressive feminist site too.
Yeah, yeah. And so he had this brand, and it's just very much like Bill Cosby. He had a brand that was at complete odds, apparently, with his behavior, his alleged behavior. Now, I don't want to get into, there's no court here, but there is a court of public opinion, and so far it's been unanimously against Dean. He's been fired by the site he was writing columns for. Kink.com fired him, every porn thing, and they're doing the right thing. They're cutting, they're separating themselves from James Dean. Now the thing is, are they going to stop selling his old videos? I mean,
no, of course not. They've already said we going forward.
Exactly. We're not doing any new movies with this guy, but his back library is still available if you want to watch it. And I think there's going to be a lot of confused millennial girls who've been enjoying his work for some time, imagining that this guy's a nice guy. And some of them might even be like, oh, well, now there's an edge to him, and he's even more exciting. I mean, Ted Bundy got, marriage propositions. So, don't put anything past the human deviant to.
Well, but also, a friend of mine, let's call him an industry observer, says that much like the Cosby thing, that this is not done. That,
in what way?
There's more to come out.
Yeah, I mean, we are still down in the Christy Mack side of the scale, where these are not even B-level celebrities. These are D-level celebrities,
Stoy is fairly big.
Yeah, amongst whom?
Well, for porn fans, Dean was bigger than her as a mainstream celebrity for sure.
Yeah. But I'm saying that there are names. Apparently, according to my source, there are names higher up that'll get people to go,
like non-porn performer.
No, the claim that he's making is that it'll be a bigger porn name. At first, he wouldn't tell me who it was. At first, I thought he meant Joanna Angel, but I'm not quite sure, But it doesn't matter, because the industry, I mean, porn is having a hard time as it is, and he is that's it, man. It was the most aggressive Hollywood fade ever. I mean, You think that guy's phone is fucking ringing? He's sitting at home going, oh, no, I guess I thought it buzzed.
But that's the difference between the Bill Cosby dynamic. That's what's different, is the fact that when you have somebody that is a, no pun intended, young up-and-comer, and who is trying to establish themselves in the mainstream, as opposed to somebody who meant millions.
Yeah, but also,
to
when
mainstream television.
O.J. Simpson, beat the charge of killing his ex-wife and possibly, her boyfriend. That's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is a guy named Gordon Kimbrough. Any bodybuilding fans might know Gordon Kimbrough, as I think he had been a past Mr. California. And Gordon Kimbrough also worked with me on Leonard Part 6, strangely enough, a Cosby tie-in. Months after the O.J. Simpson acquittal, or where we beat the charges, Gordon Kimbrough had a standoff with the police. They kicked in the door. Eventually, found him standing naked over the broken and bloody corpse of his girlfriend with a syringe held to his neck. He's holding the cops off. Eventually, they arrested him, and he went to trial. Was one of the first, as far as I know, attempts to use the roid rage as a legal defense. Failed miserably. Gordon got 25 to 30 years, if I'm not mistaken. He's still up at San Quentin. If you do not think that Gordon Kimbrough was connected to O.J. Simpson, you're very wrong. And if you don't think that James Dean is connected to Bill Cosby, you're very wrong. You
mean in the sense that they got Gordon Kimbrough, they were extra careful to get him because O.J. got away?
No, it wasn't even like they were extra careful. At that point, the entire jungle is tilted against the guy.
Yeah, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Bill Cosby thing, and I think the bigger issue for porn is we're sort of seeing a cultural shift where the Gen Xers were sex positive. And back in our day, we came up through college with Andrea Dworkin and Catherine McKinnon and all this, anti-sex feminism, which, you know, they had some
We
good
didn't
points
have
about
suicide girls.
Yeah, and then the Gen Xers are just kind of like, you know what, fuck that. Sex is cool, like, let's be sex positive and still be equal or try to be more equal. And that is now played out. The younger kids are like, yeah, we've seen that all this sex positive turns into just a new twist on ladies' night and wet t-shirt contests in the end. Like, you know, and so a lot of younger girls are not down with the porn industry and not down with the pornification of society. So I think we're going to see another swing. Porn industry is already reeling because of the internet and the way it's changed their business models. And I think anybody but James Dean, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But because James Dean was the porn star that women liked, that had the rep of being gentle and kind and different from other porn stars, you know, that this makes a big deal. If we had heard this about TT Boy, I mean, I've heard this about TT Boy, you know, I mean, it's you know, or Ron Jeremy or somebody like that. Now, Jeremy, to my knowledge, has always been a perfect gentleman in his own sleazy, disgusting way. But I mean, nobody would have been that shocked and horrified. Oh, Ron Jeremy. I mean, he's
no,
a
but
creep.
no. He was a fun-loving guy, so you would have been shocked, but you wouldn't have been surprised. You know.
Yeah. And
so like in the whole rascal, like, you know, scoundrel, you know, bastard kind of thing, where it's like, oh yeah, that's him being him, as opposed to like, oh, you're the nice one. The nice guy's not supposed to act this way.
Marco Siffredi, you've been like, well, what he's been doing on camera already looked like rape a lot of the time, so, you know, it's not any big shock. But with this guy, the whole appeal was the warm and fuzzy, the cuddly, the teddy bear with the big cock. I mean, you know, the dream is over if you were a James Dean fan.
Well, and also, you know what
I'm trying not to laugh at the guy, but
no,
anyway.
I never liked him to begin with. But I think
he wasn't for you, Eugene. He wasn't.
Yeah, right. I think the issue was nobody likes being surprised.
Right.
You know, nobody likes being surprised, and he or surprised maybe. No, surprise is not what I'm talking about. Fooled is
lied to.
Nobody likes being fooled. So, you know, the fantasy of I could meet this guy on the best of. I mean, you know, he's cute and he was lovable, and now not so. The guy's punching somebody in the face 5 or 6 times. Now not so lovable. So.
Yeah. It's the dude is done, and this is going to be a bad moment for porn.
Yeah. For sure. Well, among many bad moments, many bad moments.
Or an ongoing series of bad moments.
I mean, the money thing, it's dying, you know, and it's like when they came for it's like that old thing about when they came for the gypsies, I said nothing. You know?
But the other thing is, with cell music phones and changing societal morals, people don't even need professional porn. I mean, you know, one thing we've learned is, hey, I've got one of those too, and so does she, and hey, we've got cell phones. You know, if she wants to show off.
Let me tell you, some of that stuff is better left to professionals, buddy.
So, Eugene, you do not believe that porn is in the Lost Battalion?
I actually do. Music had enough of an installed base, and it. You know, look at what's happened with Adele's. Look what's happened with Adele's record. I mean, how many? What did she sell? Like 13, 23, something crazy. People are still buying vinyl. You know, but. You know, I've seen scenes with women stars go from 3,000 a scene to 1,500 a scene, now to 750 a scene. You know, it's not coming back. So for reasons that kid Nate said, you know, when they did the Girl Next Door ethos, the Suicide Girl ethos, and things just started to change. People were like, yeah, hey, we got these parts too. I mean, I can load this stuff up on the internet. I can put it on YouPorn. It's free. Oh wow! You know, who's paying? When was the last time anybody you knew paid for anything in that arena?
It's been a while.
Speaking of paying, what about Anderson, Aldo, and Reebok, Eugene? Are they in the Lost Battalion? I love it. I want an Anderson, Aldo shirt so bad.
Did you see the Conor McGregor Irish flag shirt where they didn't put any color on it? So it's 3 rectangles, a white one, a black one, and a white one. And it's just like, absolutely makes no sense.
At this point now, I don't want the deal to die. Because I'm just enjoying it too much.
It's too funny. It's great. It's like, it's weird because you have this thing, you're right, where initially you'd like the UFC, you'd like MMA to have mainstream acceptance, and I mean, at least I do. You want it to get bigger, and you want them to be able to have their moments and increases and stuff. And then you see, like, no, the salaries suck.
Yeah,
no,
right.
the product sucks.
Yeah.
And so there was this rage at first, and now it's just become such a joke. You're right, like from the Giblert. I'm waiting for the next wave of shirts to come out.
If you're watching this show and you've seen somebody actually wearing a Reebok UFC shirt, please let us know, because I have not. And I saw Affliction shirts and tap-out shirts to the point where it was embarrassing, and I never wanted to see one again. I'd love to see a Reebok shirt. The only ones I could see buying would be the Anderson Aldo
shirt. That's what I'm saying. Are they available?
I was trying to get my hands on one.
If you could get the Glibbert shirt or whatever,
That's
it's a collector's item. But
I have to step back for a bit to explain why I was uncharacteristically sensitive when we were discussing porn. I'm sitting here at the Sorrel Academy, and a mother came in asking for advice for classes for her kids. So I don't want to start stuck in the fucking, this guy.
You're there like, looking like, that's
It's like a dated finesse reference. It's like the scene from Clerks where the guy on the clerk on the phone is talking through his porn movie collection in front of the mom. Anyway.
Is Conor McGregor in the Lost Battalion?
No. Oh, no. I think again, to tie it back into the Nazis and Christopher Browning at I think Brown University, the guy who wrote a response book to Daniel Goldhagen's Hitler's Willing Executioners, they said, look, was the extirpation of European Jewry, was that a fait accompli? Was that gonna? So, well, Hitler had this whole, guided by providence and fate, this whole daisy chain of things that had to happen before something else happened, So I think Conor McGregor is in the same place, I think if he wins, Tony Montana time, the world is his. If he loses, man, oh man. yeah. Hey, what about my 100 million? My 100 million? I'm sorry. My phone is not really working.
It kind of becomes like the Reebok thing, right? Where it's like initially they might have been like, fuck this guy. They're like, oh yeah, you want your $100 million, Conor?
Yep.
So it depends on how he loses. If it's a great fight and a back and forth war with a controversial decision, then he can move right on through that, and the winner of the rematch, goes forward, and the rematch could be even bigger. If he just goes out there and gets smoked, particularly if he has a Brock Lesnar moment or something where he gets flinchy, if he gets hit or somehow embarrasses himself, then he's done. But as long as he acquits himself well, I think he can recover.
Hold on. If he acquits himself well and wins, or if he acquits himself well and loses?
If he wins and wins solidly, he's gold. If he wins
Pascal's wager. Here we go. So
if he wins ugly, he'll be wounded, but they can do a rematch and he can recover from that. I mean, okay. I think the close loss or close
win. And he's getting his 100 mil.
No, I don't think he's getting his 100 mil. No how. That's not. There's no 100 mil for Conor McGregor in any scenario I can envisage. But it all comes down to the fight. It's in his hands. If he performs, he's gonna reap the benefits. If he doesn't perform,
what if he performs well and he loses?
Then you got a redemption match. Then then that builds the narrative. Like that's fine. He can survive that. Like the only thing is he can't be embarrassed and he can't lose his honor. Otherwise, the train will keep rolling. Although it won't be as big as it is now.
So if he fights a fight like he fought against Chad Mendes, which they we all know what happened. If he fights a fight like he has with Chad Mendes and gets slammer-gasted at the end of the first round, or no sexy.
The only thing people remember about the Mendes fight is that Conor McGregor knocked him out. That's.
Oh, that's why I'm still talking about it. 1.1. Hey, you know what? You know who wants to know that guy who fought who got put in by Dun Young Kim, got put in a crucifix and got about 18 fucking blows to the head. He's like, hey, actually his head wants to know what happened to my 1.5 punch stoppage.
Don't you think it's possible, though, Eugene, that in the wake of your constant, I don't want to say harping, but the fact that you don't want people to forget what happened, right?
Right.
The attention you're drawn to it, you kind of put refs on blast, and so now they're like, maybe that's the Eugene Butterfly effect.
Well,
Now there's more brain damage inflicted because, hey, guess what? People have to get beaten the shit out of before the referee can stop the fight. Thank you, Eugene. You're trying to save brains. Thanks.
No. You know who the most terrifying ref was for a period of time? Dan Migliotta, who I know listens to the show. I love you, Dan, but just give me a second here. I'll explain it. Because he had that fight that he stopped too early, and people flipped out. It was like, what the fuck are you? And the backlash was so severe that the next fight that he reffed after that, he was pretty much, fuck you. I'm going to let this guy get beaten until he's a stain on the canvas, and that's all there is to it. So he was the most dangerous ref for a period of time, because after that, he was like, fuck it, Jack. If your body is still moving, even from the weight of the punches, I'm letting you fight it out. So after that, like 3 or 4 fights after that, when he finally stopped the fight, you knew it was a good stoppage, because the guy that he stopped it to save was not going like, what? He was like,
that reminds me of, it's like Ben Carson. Is he Lost Battalion? I love your Ben Carson impersonation on Knuckle Up. I mean, you have to, answer the question as Ben Carson. Ben Carson, are you in Lost Battalion?
If you don't stop talking, I will try to stab you with a belt buckle. The belt buckle. I don't know why people can't see that. I mean, Ben Carson wasn't ever in it to win it anyway. Ben Carson is on a promotional tour for his friggin' books. He's got something to do since he's stopped doing surgery. He needs something to do with his time. And you know what? He gets points in my book for actually being the first Republican when they were like, oh, shit, they shot up a Planned Parenthood? What are we going to do now? And he was the first one who said, hey, you know what? We have extremists.
Hey, he didn't say it like that. Say it like him. Say it like him, Eugene. You have to say it like him.
We have extremists on both sides, the left side and the right side of the aisle. So this is a problem in America. We need to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. So
you should do an entire Knuckle Up as Ben Carson edition. Because the thing is, like, we're not going to be able to make jokes and laugh about him for much longer. He's not going to be around for much longer. So you might as well capitalize on that.
Like I said, I'm living for the day. I will not rest until Jeb is out. That's it.
Jeb is effectively out. Like, Carson fell from first place to third place, and Trump bumped up 3 points, Rubio bumped up 3 points, and Cruz bumped up 3 points. There was no bump for Jeb. Jeb is done.
Even though he's chest bumping people. Remember? I give you a chest bump. I would give a warm kiss or a hug to somebody. He's just so fucking creepy, man.
No, he's out there like Colonel Kurtz, operating beyond any reasonable. I don't know what he's doing, but Jeb is still out there, and I'm not going to rest.
Jeb came out and said, I probably wouldn't have gone to the climate conference in Paris. And that's his idea of getting radical and being Trumpy. And it's like, that's just weak tea from a done dude. So Jeb.
Yeah, but you keep saying that, and he is still there. I know. I've seen the Halloween movies. I know Michael Myers.
He's got the money to hang on for a while and the lack of sense, but he's not going.
So get your Jeb impression together, Eugene. You got to get it ready. If he's going to come back, you must deliver.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
You can't be talking about Jeb Bush in like a Eugene voice. You need to have Jeb voice.
No. My question is right now. This has much more weight for me and is much more compelling. Why does he stay? Why is he still there?
Well, until there's some primaries, he can continue to pretend that he's got a chance. So
it's like he's doing something he doesn't want to do. He's burning up money. Why is he still there?
Because there's money left to burn.
Yeah, they gave him the money to spend on his campaign. They didn't give him the money just to spend.
I mean, the one thing that I liked that Jindal did was like, I'm out.
Jindal didn't have any money though. I mean,
Yeah. Well, he stayed in long enough to put big, giant, nothing will soften the hammer and coffin nails into Vitter's career. I loved it, man. I just loved that campaign. Oh, he cared more about prostitutes than he cared about patriots. Somebody like us sat around and goes, P, how do we work it? Whores and no, how do we prostitutes and patriots. I got it.
Yeah, that was. I've been in the rooms where ads like that have been proposed, even shot and cut. But to get a candidate to approve an ad like that, that was some ballsy moves. And I think Edwards, the new Senator Edwards from Louisiana, I look forward to more interesting things from him, because that was a rare candidate who had the balls, especially on the Democratic side, to just throw down, go for the throat, kick him in the balls, kick him when he was down. Beautiful performance.
And yet, given the PR experts that we are, I think Vitter could have played it differently and actually pulled it out. And it wasn't talking about Syrian refugees. I thought he should have done what I'll keep waiting for some public figure to do when they get caught and go, hey, pull a Fonzie. Hey, who among us?
Easier to do if it hadn't been in the madam's notes that he liked to wear diapers. That is a hard one to get out of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You can't, hey, who doesn't like a change?
Well, because the average person thinks if he's got diapers, he has diapers on for one reason, and that's so he can pee and poop himself in the bed for reasons that I don't even want to think about, and so he's done.
But now we all are thinking about it, Eugene, because you mentioned it.
Naturally, good, because the mom is not here asking about classes for her kids.
You're making up for lost porn time.
I can talk about the Diaper Pail Club and poopy diapers and sex with, I mean, I don't even, I can, It's like, no. No, I won't tell it on there.
And that's our show. That's our show.
So you guys miss us. Come on.
Eugene, show how to give us a thumbs up.
If you spend too much time on porn sets, you see a lot. So anyway.
Yeah. Give us a thumbs up. Come on, show us how the thumbs up are done.
Okay, thumbs up. There we go.
There we go. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube. Subscribe to MMA Nation on iTunes. Read us at Me on Bloody Elbow, Eugene at Aussie.com. Alexi,
I had a Nazi piece up this week.
What? Yes.
I saw that.
Yeah, Reinhard Galen. Yep.
The friendly Nazi came in from the cold, as it were. All right, and
on the U.S. payroll 3 months after the war ended. I like that.
That's how it's done. Not a long job search. All right, so follow us on Twitter at KidNate, at Eugene S. Robinson, at Alexi Old, AULD. You can find Alexi's books on Amazon, Eugene's books on Amazon, my books on Amazon. And I believe that's our show. We'll have some MMA Vivisection action for the Bellator event that's this Friday. And come back, and Eugene will have Knuckle Up on Sunday. Next week, we'll have the full parade. There's 3 UFCs, 3 nights. We'll still do If I Did It. We'll do one If I Care, Don't Care, and we'll have multiple Vivisections to get ready for all the action. So we don't know what we'll be talking about on If I Did It next week because the mistakes have yet to be made, but they will be made. And tune in, and we'll talk about how to fix them. So for Alexi and Eugene, this is Kid Nate. Adios, MMA aficionados.
Later, man.